Well, I made it. It's got to be probably about one of the most uncomfortable nights I've spent, though. A couple things happened. For one thing, a little bit after it got dark, a fog rolled in, so it kind of left the dew all over the place. So it added a little bit of dampness to the already cold situation. Remember, I was trying to make a shelter where I was just going to sit up and kind of recline. I was pretty comfortable like that, and I was pretty warm when I was doing that. Problem was, I couldn't sleep like that. So I ended up crawling down into it, laying down on the ground, using that log that I was going to prop my feet on, using it as a pillow. Thing was, I didn't have the branches and the ferns and all that stuff in there. I didn't have it set up for to lay down on, so I think I was almost on the ground for most of the night. I didn't get very much sleep, probably a couple minutes at a time, and then I'd wake up cold. Some parts of me was cold, woke me up. These muck boots weren't the best idea to bring along here. My feet were still, I think my socks were still kind of wet in there, so my feet were pretty cold all night long. And for some reason, even though I was pretty dehydrated most of the day, I had to get up 4 times in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. So that was fun, being pitch black out here and having to get out, go to the bathroom. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. I'm going to try to start a little fire, maybe warm up a little bit, dry my socks out, thaw out a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it started. We're going to do a friction fire, but at least the whole process of doing the fire will probably warm me up a little bit. So I'm going to move the camera over here behind. I'm going to try to do it up here behind the shelter, and then we're just going to use it just to warm up a little bit. So
okay, so usually when you think of friction fire, you're thinking of a bow drill or a hand drill. What I'm going to do today is called a fire plow. It's probably one of the easiest sets to make. Not that it's the easiest friction fire to make, but it's pretty easy for the set. Really all you need is a board and a spindle, and you're going to do all the work. So I went and grabbed a piece of tulip poplar that we found when we were hiking in yesterday. I was going to split it up and make a board out of it, but when I started looking at it, I saw that it actually had a groove already cut in it, so I'm going to try to use that groove instead of cutting this out in a flat board. And then the other thing you need is another stick. This is one of the branches off that tulip poplar also. Now I've never tried using tulip poplar to do this kind of a fire, so I hope it works. If it doesn't, I'll have to scout around and try to find something else to use. There's not a lot out here that's not already rotting, and you want to have dead wood for this. You don't want to use anything alive. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take this stick, and what I did was I cut the point down into a chisel point, or like a plow looks. What we're going to do, I'm going to be on the other side here. I'm going to keep pressing this and rubbing this inside of here. I'm going to create some dust in there, and then once we get some dust created, then we're going to try to create some heat and get that to go into an ember. Yesterday on the way in, I collected some things. So one of the things that I found right when I started on my hike were some milkweeds that weren't opened yet. So I grabbed a few of them. Now these are flash tinder, so you don't want to build your whole bird's nest out of these, but I think they'll be a nice thing to add into it just to give it some flare up. I found a whole bunch of dried fungus out there that can either maybe hold an ember after we get something going, you know, if I want to keep this fire going. Here's some more of that. I think this will burn up pretty nice. It's pretty dry. I think that was about it. I think everything else we covered. We had the birch bark. Here's that chaga that we found. So one of the things I'm going to add into this bird's nest here, I am going to add some of the smaller shavings off of this birch bark. or off this birch tree. I'm going to add that into here. What I'm going to do, I'm just flipping it over here. I'm just kind of trying to mix it in. I don't necessarily want that to be what I lay my ember on, but I want it to be in there so once this thing gets going, that it'll keep going. So, and I think maybe we'll do the same thing here. We'll mix in some of these milkweed. I will leave them right in here. I'll put them right in the center. They're nice and fluffy. You get that ember that might help it take off there. So I'll keep this one up off the ground. Set this stuff here all aside. Just wanted to show you all the stuff that I found out there just hiking in that could be used for fire making. Okay, I'm gonna keep this one here. Now what I did, if you can see, I put this up against a rock here just to kind of hold it. Move this out of the way some more. Okay. So one thing you want to do is when you're doing this, if you start getting dust collected, then you want to stop pushing down so far. You don't want to keep pushing into that pile of dust, or you're just going to scatter it everywhere. So after you start getting some dust going in there, you want to kind of limit how far you're pushing into this. I can already smell it getting hot. I don't have any smoke yet. I don't really have any whole lot of dust. One of the other things I can do, I think I'm going to put my foot against the back of this to hold it. That way I can use two hands on the stick. I don't know if you can see or not, but I do have some dust built up, and I already have some smoke going. Doesn't really necessarily mean that I'm going to get a fire out of this, so I have to keep going. I have to get that dust ignited into an ember, or heated into an ember. If you can see there, it's starting to burn on the end, and I was getting some smoke on there. It's really hard to do. I have to take off this wool sweater. So, if I don't get a fire going, at least I warm myself up. Try to show you I was getting some dust build up in there. One of the things too, it's still pretty early in the morning here. So even if this stuff didn't pick up any dampness overnight, it's still kind of cold, and I have to heat this up before it's ever going to catch into an ember. So just going to keep at it here. Like I said, I got a nice chisel point on there, and if I can use my boot holding this against that rock and get the two hands on it, that'll help me out. So it is pretty tiring work. So getting some dust in there. I was getting some smoke, but didn't get an ember at all. So I'm going to cut off some of this darkness on here. It's just like when we're doing the bow drill set. We want to keep that end clean so that we can create some dust with it. We don't want it smooth. We want a lot of friction in there to create up this dust. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to split this up So I think one of the problems is I'm rubbing against the edges here. It seemed like a good idea, but I'm losing a lot of my heat, a lot of my friction because I'm rubbing against the edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this up into just a flat board. And then we're going to rub against that flat board, and I think we'll get more of the friction where we want it to create the dust rather than on the sides of this. Because if you can see, it's already starting to get brown on the sides even. So, okay, so I went ahead and split this into more of a flat piece here instead of that dip that we had in it. I did use my knife. I did start a little groove in here. There already was a groove in there that kind of goes snake-like through there, so I wanted it to go a little straighter. So I kind of did use my knife to get a groove started in this. Same thing, put it right up against that rock. That'll help hold it, because that's important that you're holding this steady, otherwise it's just going to flop all around when you're trying to do this. I'm going to use my boot on the back side here. Yeah, and give us another try. Probably want to start out kind of slow until you get that groove worked in. Once you start getting that groove worked in, then you can start building up the dust. Kind of play it by ear here. You gotta, maybe tilt it up, put some more pressure, whatever you need to do. Tell you, it really tires you out quick, especially going 2 days without eating now, or second day without eating. Don't have a lot of energy. This takes a little bit of energy to get this going here. I'm gonna trim this up again. I mean, I had some dust and some smoke. Just wasn't enough to get it to turn into an ember. So just wasn't enough heat there, or maybe not enough dust. So we're going to keep trying here. I think I'm going to take a break for a little bit. It really does sap the energy out of you. But I was getting some dust there. And I did get it burnt a little bit. Quite a bit of smoke. Just wasn't enough to get an actual ember going. So I'll keep this up off the ground. I think this set might actually work. What I'm going to try to do is, next time I try, I'm going to go a little longer on this instead of so short of a motion. I'm going to try to do a longer motion, see if that helps. So we'll take a break. For you guys, it'll be almost instantaneous. Okay, I'm going to try going at this from a different approach. I went and got a longer piece of that tulip poplar, and I'm going to try standing when I do this, that way I can put my body weight into this and maybe get some more downward pressure without using up my arm strength. So I still have it against the rock, and I still have I cut a nice wedge shape on here, or chisel point. Got to kind of burn in there at first. One of the problems with this, it's a little harder to control. I actually knocked my dust off of there. Yeah, I said this was an easy set to create. I didn't say it was easy to get a fire going with it though. Hopefully you see that smoke. That was definitely the best one so far. But still, just not enough. You see a lot of my dust is coming up out of my groove. Try trimming this up again. Yeah, I just don't have it in me right now to do this. So a couple times there I had it pretty close. Had quite a bit of smoke, quite a bit of dust. Just couldn't get that extra little bit. So maybe we'll come back, we'll try revisiting this in a little while. Okay, gonna give this one more shot here before I call it a day. So I went and I shaved down the board a little bit more to get rid of some of that deepness of the groove in there. We'll give it a try here. I also went and prepared both of the sticks. I'll give them both a try, see what happens. Spilled it all out, I think. That didn't go very well. I'm going to give this little stick here a try. Well, kept knocking my dust out again. The biggest thing about this is you have to be careful not to throw your dust up out of that slot. I think maybe if I wasn't so tired, I probably could have actually got this going maybe. I had some good dust and some good smoke there a couple times. I just kind of was pooped out and just didn't have the strength to keep going on it. So, well, I think that's it for that. I'm not gonna try that anymore today. So I think that's about it for this video. At least here at the campsite. If I find anything interesting on the way back, I'll make sure I film that, add it in here. I'm going to leave the shelter here. Hate to tear it apart, but actually I think the kids are going to want to come out and see it, so I'll have to bring them out hiking here some days just so they can see the shelter that I built. All in all, it was a pretty good experience. I learned quite a few things. You know, one thing was I left the door of the shelter and it wasn't completely enclosed, and at night I could feel the cool breeze blowing in there. So it would have been better, I think, to maybe have my door down low and kind of crawl into it, and then I could cover it back up pretty easy. A few other things. Maybe yesterday I should have worked a little bit trying to fire plow while I still had some more energy. I might have been able to get a fire going then, but I mean, I made it through the night without that. Just would have been nice. I could have dried out some of my clothes that got all sweaty while I was hiking out here. So I'm going to pack up my gear. I'm going to head out. This was a pretty nice spot. Had lots of running water right down there. I think that was a big thing that helped out. Didn't really have any food. You know, had that couple of tea berries and a few of those violets, but that wasn't really anything to sustain you. So I'm gonna pack up, probably have another, I don't know, hour and a half or 2 hours till I can get out of here for the hike back. So I'm gonna get going, and hope you enjoyed these series. And like I said, if I see anything on the way, I'll make sure I film it for you. So here I am heading out on the trail. I wanted to try out my little gadget here of holding a camcorder while I'm walking too, and see how that works out. But also wanted to leave you with one final thought. Although I showed that we could go out into the woods with nothing but our Old Hickory, and we got a shelter made. We didn't get the fire made, but we did survive the night. That's really what it is all about. I hope the one thing that you took from this is it's not how you should go out in the woods. Always be prepared when you go out in the woods, even if it's just for a day hike or if you're out for a run. Always have stuff with you in case something happens and you have to spend the night out there in the woods. Because although, you know, I made it with just my knife, it wasn't a fun experience. It would have been a lot nicer. Cordage would probably be my top. Had I had that, I could have got a fire going, could have made the shelter a little better, things like that. And beyond that, a container would have been nice. Something to get water in. That would have made my life a lot easier also. So I'm going to keep going here. Like I said, if I see anything of interest, I'll make sure I film it and add it in here.